Boredom has a terrible reputation. It is treated as a flaw, a lack of discipline, a need for stimulation, something to fix quickly before it becomes uncomfortable. But boredom is not an absence of interest. It is the presence of information. Breathe. Boredom is not asking you to be entertained. It is asking you to pay attention. From a consciousness perspective, boredom appears when attention is active, but meaning collapses. You are awake. You are engaged. Yet something deeper is missing. That missing element is direction. In physics, systems constantly evaluate whether energy invested in a path produces a return. When it does not, efficiency drops. Motion slows. Feedback changes. Human consciousness operates the same way. When you remain on a trajectory that does not lead anywhere meaningful, the system sends a signal. That signal is boredom. Not emotional boredom. Directional boredom. The subtle sense that continuing this way will not improve the future state. This is why boredom feels heavy, why time stretches, why motivation dissolves. The system is no longer projecting forward. Hermetic wisdom described this long before modern language softened it. Energy follows direction. When direction collapses, energy withdraws. Boredom is that withdrawal. Here is the part most people miss. Boredom does not appear because nothing is happening. It appears because something important is not going to happen if you continue. It is predictive, and prediction is intelligence. Dark humor moment. Most people respond to boredom by anesthetizing it. Scrolling, snacking, consuming something loud enough to drown out the message. That is like covering a warning light with tape and calling it self-care. It works briefly, then the signal returns, usually stronger. Breathe. From a metaphysical perspective, there are countless possible paths available at any moment. Some converge toward expansion, most do not. When attention is locked onto a path that does not lead toward growth, coherence drops. The body feels it first, the mind interprets it later, and boredom appears, not as punishment, as guidance. It is not saying, you are lazy. It is saying, this direction does not resolve. That distinction matters, because the moment boredom is understood as feedback instead of failure, it stops being something to escape. It becomes something to listen to. And once you listen, you stop wasting energy trying to feel interested in a life that is quietly asking to be redirected. Why boredom disappears the moment direction changes. There is something strange about boredom. It can last for hours, days, sometimes years, and then disappear instantly. Not gradually, not politely, instantly. That alone should tell you something. Boredom is not caused by lack of stimulation. If it were, distraction would cure it permanently. It doesn't. Boredom ends the moment direction is restored. From a systems view, attention is not neutral. It is always projecting forward. The mind is constantly simulating futures, outcomes, consequences. When those projections stop producing meaning, the system disengages. That disengagement is boredom. Breathe. This is why boredom can exist even in busy lives. Movement does not equal direction. Activity does not equal trajectory. You can be occupied all day and still feel profoundly bored, because nothing you are doing is moving the future anywhere new. In physics, energy follows gradients. It flows where movement leads somewhere. When there is no gradient, energy pools, stagnates, loses momentum. Human experience mirrors this exactly. When an action points toward growth, curiosity appears automatically. Time compresses. Effort feels justified. When an action points nowhere, curiosity collapses. Time stretches. Effort feels pointless. That is boredom, not emotional flatness. Directional mismatch. Dark humor moment. People think boredom means they need passion. What they actually need is alignment. Passion is not something you manufacture. It is what shows up when the system detects forward motion. Breathe. Notice what happens when you take even a small step in the right direction. Not a big leap, not a dramatic change, just a step that clearly points toward expansion. Suddenly, the body wakes up. Attention sharpens, energy returns. The boredom vanishes. Not because the task is easier, but because it is coherent. This is why boredom cannot survive on a convergent path. Even difficulty feels meaningful when direction is correct. Even effort feels clean. The nervous system relaxes because it can see where this is going. Hermetic teachings frame this simply. Purpose precedes power. When direction is present, energy follows. When direction is absent, energy withdraws. Boredom is that withdrawal. It is not an enemy. It is a compass. Ignore it, and you drift. Override it repeatedly, and you numb navigation. But listen to it, and something interesting happens. You stop asking, "How do I feel less bored?" and start asking, "Where am I actually going?" That question collapses confusion faster than motivation ever could. Because boredom does not want entertainment. It wants trajectory. And the moment trajectory is restored, boredom has nothing left to say. Why boredom disappears the moment direction changes. There is something strange about boredom. It can last for hours, days, sometimes years, and then disappear instantly. Not gradually, not politely, instantly. That alone should tell you something. Boredom is not caused by lack of stimulation. If it were, distraction would cure it permanently. It doesn't. Boredom ends the moment direction is restored. From a systems view, attention is not neutral. It is always projecting forward. The mind is constantly simulating futures, outcomes, consequences. When those projections stop producing meaning, the system disengages. That disengagement is boredom. Breathe. This is why boredom can exist even in busy lives. Movement does not equal direction. Activity does not equal trajectory. You can be occupied all day and still feel profoundly bored, because nothing you are doing is moving the future anywhere new. In physics, energy follows gradients. It flows where movement leads somewhere. When there is no gradient, energy pools, stagnates, loses momentum. Human experience mirrors this exactly. When an action points toward growth, curiosity appears automatically. Time compresses. Effort feels justified. When an action points nowhere, curiosity collapses. Time stretches. Effort feels pointless. That is boredom, not emotional flatness. Directional mismatch. Dark humor moment. People think boredom means they need passion. What they actually need is alignment. Passion is not something you manufacture. It is what shows up when the system detects forward motion. Breathe. Notice what happens when you take even a small step in the right direction. Not a big leap, not a dramatic change, just a step that clearly points toward expansion. Suddenly, the body wakes up. Attention sharpens, energy returns. The boredom vanishes. Not because the task is easier, but because it is coherent. This is why boredom cannot survive on a convergent path. Even difficulty feels meaningful when direction is correct. Even effort feels clean. The nervous system relaxes because it can see where this is going. Hermetic teachings frame this simply. Purpose precedes power. When direction is present, energy follows. When direction is absent, energy withdraws. Boredom is that withdrawal. It is not an enemy. It is a compass. Ignore it, and you drift. Override it repeatedly, and you numb navigation. But listen to it, and something interesting happens. You stop asking, "How do I feel less bored?" and start asking, "Where am I actually going?" That question collapses confusion faster than motivation ever could. Because boredom does not want entertainment. It wants trajectory. And the moment trajectory is restored, boredom has nothing left to say. What to do the moment boredom appears. Boredom does not require analysis. It requires response, not reaction. Response. The moment boredom appears, the system is asking a single question. Does this direction lead somewhere meaningful? Not emotionally meaningful, structurally meaningful. Breathe. The mistake most people make is trying to feel better first. They ask, "How do I get motivated again? How do I make this enjoyable? How do I stop feeling like this?" Those questions miss the point. Boredom is not asking to be managed. It is asking to be answered. The correct response is not stimulation. It is correction. Look at the action you are engaged in, not the story around it, the action itself. Then ask honestly, if I continue this exact pattern, does it move my future forward? Not someday, not symbolically, logically. If the answer is no, boredom has already done its job. That recognition alone reduces friction. Here is the part people resist. You do not need to know the perfect next move. You only need to stop feeding the wrong one. Boredom collapses the moment energy is withdrawn from a dead direction, even before a new one is chosen. Dark humor moment. People think they need clarity before they move. But clarity usually arrives after misalignment stops. Direction emerges when noise drops. Breathe. Small course corrections matter more than dramatic changes. A single aligned action, even modest, even uncomfortable, restores coherence. The nervous system feels it immediately. Time tightens, attention sharpens, energy returns. Not because the task is exciting, but because it points somewhere. This is why boredom cannot survive once direction is corrected. It has no function anymore. Hermetic wisdom framed this simply. Where intention goes, energy flows. Boredom is the moment intention slipped off course. Realignment does not require force. It requires honesty. The kind of honesty that admits, "This is not it." That sentence ends boredom faster than any distraction ever could. Because boredom is not your enemy. It is your early warning system that you are spending life on something that does not lead where you think it does. Listen once, and it quiets. Ignore it repeatedly, and it learns to shout. The choice is always available the moment boredom appears. Boredom as navigation, the final compression. At this point, boredom should no longer feel vague. It should feel specific, almost precise. That is because boredom is not an emotion at all. It is information. When coherence is present, experience feels fluid. When coherence breaks, the system flags it. That flag is boredom. Breathe. From a quantum perspective, reality is not a single unfolding line. It is a field of probabilities. Attention does not wander randomly through this field. It follows patterns of consistency. When your current pattern no longer leads toward expansion, the probability density thins. Future projections lose richness. The system feels it. That sensation is boredom, not dissatisfaction, not laziness, a thinning of possibility. Hermetic wisdom encoded this elegantly. When the path no longer feeds the soul withdraws energy. It does not punish, it redirects. Dark humor moment. People assume boredom means they need more pleasure. What they usually need is less tolerance for the wrong direction. Pleasure can numb boredom. It cannot resolve it. Resolution comes from trajectory. This is why boredom disappears the moment alignment returns. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because it becomes meaningful again. Meaning is not emotional excitement. Meaning is forward coherence. Breathe. Here is the final compression. Boredom is not asking you to add something. It is asking you to subtract. Subtract loyalty to a path that no longer resolves. Subtract habits that keep you circling. Subtract explanations that justify stagnation. When subtraction happens, energy returns automatically. No motivation required, no inspiration speech needed. The system resumes movement because obstruction has been removed. This is why boredom is honest. It does not flatter you. It does not negotiate. It does not care about comfort. It only cares about direction. Ignore it, and the system dims gradually. Listen to it, and redirection happens early, gently, efficiently. Boredom is not a problem to solve. It is a message to trust. Trust that something in you knows when the future is narrowing. Trust that disengagement is sometimes wisdom. Trust that alignment feels quieter than distraction. When boredom speaks, reality is saying, "This road does not end where you think it does." Listen once, and you reroute. And once rerouted, boredom has no further role. It goes silent, because navigation has been restored. Nothing more needs to be said after that.